Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Bill Williams on the Influencers Podcast. Today it's December 1st, 2023. It's cold outside, it's raining, and I'm glad I'm inside because I get to talk with Rob Gallo, president of Peak Gaming Group. He's from the sunny state of Florida, and I'm going to bring him in right now. Welcome to Influencers Podcast, Rob.
Thanks, Dr. Bill. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Good. Thanks for getting up early, coming to see us today. At least us East Coast guys are not so spoiled. We don't, have to get up early at 7 o'clock in the morning to make an East Coast meeting. We can at least sleep in a little while.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, for our listeners out there, we're in 190 countries, people listening from all over the world saying, what's Dr. Williams going to do today? What influencer is he bringing to the front? Well, tell us what is going to be the key thing they're going to learn from you today.
Okay. So, I've been in the business gaming industry. Obviously, Peak Gaming Group has a gaming background. I started an online casino back in 1997. I'm going to take all the successes and failures that I've learned over the last 25 years, kind of break them down throughout the process of the program. So you're going to learn the 3 pillars of success that I'm a big proponent of, which is brand, acquisition of new customers, and retention of old customers. But you'll learn as you go. So stick around.
I think that's going to be a big win for everybody who listens in. Okay, so let me hear your origin story. Just how did you get started in this, and what led you to become an influencer around this whole topic of the gaming group?
Interesting. So I was on vacation in 1994, and I walked into a casino in St. Martin, and there was a sign up there that said wager up to $250,000 on the Super Bowl. And I thought to myself, wow, that's a lot. And at the time I was working for a handicapping company in New York. I went in and introduced myself and became friends with him, and we did business. Then 5-6 years later, he had gotten a prospectus from a group that wanted him to manage their online casino license. He had the master license at the time. I said, that's a great idea. You should open your own casino. He goes, okay, and you can run it. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I didn't know the difference between the whole percentage of video, poker, blackjack. I said, I'll figure it out. How hard could it be? And went up to Toronto, met with the guys at Cryptologic, said what we wanted it to look like, registered the domain name in 97. We went live in November of 97, did 60,000 the first month, 100 the next. And by the end of the first year, we were doing $1 million a month, and it just took off from there. So fast forward, I sold the business 2010, and I sort of backed into consulting in the casino space. And I've consulted for a number of clients, including Dover Downs, Caesars, Lucky Dog Entertainment, Grambley's Entertainment. So that's what we do.
So you've been in it for a long time. You've seen ups and downs, the growth, the opening up of the industry, really, to a lot of places that didn't used to be able to do that.
Yeah, now it's on a state-by-state basis in the United States, where each state has its own licensing process, which is a hassle to get through most of the time. But, we managed to do it with one of my portfolio companies. We got licensed in 17 states, and that's what we do in that one.
Yeah, and the sum total of my gaming experience is we went to the Ukraine in 1992, 93, set up a lottery in the Ukraine. And the day we were supposed to open, the bottom fell out of the market and the currency was devalued. And so our $5 piece of paper was worth 5 cents.
Oh, geez.
So we totally got blown out of the water with a printing ticket being worthless. So,
Wow.
Didn't last long, but hey, we had fun anyway.
It's fun. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that happen out there. Tell us one story that you got about a failure in the gaming business, and what'd you learn from it?
Okay, so I thought about this, and there's a couple of different failures. I mean, obviously, you learn more from your failures than your successes because you do a post-mortem and you kind of figure out what happened. So the first one was we did a $250,000 media buy on the front page of Lycos. That's how old I am.
I remember that Lycos.
When Ask Jeeves was popular in Lycos and Look Smart. So after about 70,000 was burned through the campaign, we realized that it just wasn't working. So we had to pull out of it. We couldn't pull out of it because we signed a contract. So it was a whole big thing. So what I learned was, obviously nowadays is testing the waters, making sure what you're going to do is going to work, and then you could throw more money into it. We definitely spent way too much money up front.
Test and verify, split test, all that. Yeah. Well, Lycos goes back a long way. So, I was on the bulletin boards back in the late 80s. So I kind of understand where you were.
Yeah. But we were making so much money. When we spent 250,000, it was only, a fraction of what we were making in a month. But overall, we just realized that it was just a mistake. So that's what I learned.
Yeah. They always had a saying that a large gross covers a lot of sins.
Yeah.
Tell me about a couple of things that have happened to other people, why they fail. You see them fail. You're a consultant, so you see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's many reasons, many more than three, but the top three is I don't think most people seek out the experience of people who have actually done it. I hate the term consultant, to be honest with you. I remember it reminds me of a TV commercial I used to see a long time ago. Two guys, young guys sitting on one side of the desk, an older dude on the other side, and they're going, "You need to do this, this, this." And he goes, "All right, let's do it." And they go, "Well, we don't actually do what we say. We're just telling you what to do." So it reminds me of a consulting gig I did for a company in Northern California. I'm not going to name the name, but I put together a feasibility study of on-property gaming that was phenomenal, knocked dead. It was great. And I asked the woman 6 months later, I saw her at G2A. I said, "So how'd the rollout go?" She goes, "It's still sitting on my desk." So, the number one thing is, I think, the failure to launch. People need to start first. The second thing is, from learning from my past mistakes, is start with MVP. Start with the minimum viable product that's going to get your foot in the door, and then you can kind of grow from there. A/B test like we just discussed, right? And one of those other reasons I think is, like I said, failing to listen to those who have done it before and learning from their mistakes.
Yeah, I used to be a consultant in dentistry, and I could pick out the losers and winners just by how well they listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't pay attention, there's not much hope for them to change what they are. The zebras got that one color stripe, not two options.
Yeah.
So at this point in time in your life, you've had a lot of successes. What motivates you to keep going?
I think most importantly is my willingness to give back. I was fortunate to be at the right place at the right time. I consider myself the luckiest guy in the world. I don't think we have time to get into how I met my wife, but we were driving on the highway at the same time at 12:30 at night. So this is how I met my wife. I'm just a lucky guy. But now I want to pass on what I've learned, again, mistakes, successes, failures, everything, from both a business standpoint and a personal development standpoint, from a health perspective. As I mentioned before we hit the record button, I've been going to the gym every day for the last 35 years, and my health is important to me. So what motivates me is helping others see what their future might look like if they follow these certain regimens.
Well, that's a valid way to look at it. Thanks for sharing that. Tell me what Peak Gaming Group's motto might be.
Peak Gaming Group's motto is learn from mistakes. I mean, again, I can't hammer it home enough that people have failures. Everyone's going to have failures. But if you don't learn from them, that's the biggest mistake that you could possibly make.
I thought it might be something like always roll 7.
7 or 11. Yo, 11. On the countdown, for sure.
Yeah. Is there a secret sauce to what you do? Do you have something you've picked out as your thing that really sets you apart?
Yeah. So before we hit the record button again, Dr. Bill, we talked about the 3 pillars of success. And those are, number one, the brand. Understanding what a brand means. Brand is more than just a logo. It's from a cultural perspective. People think about Apple. What does it mean to you? Starbucks. What does it mean to you? So people create emotional connections with brands. And I think too many companies like Tom's Plumbing don't really think about it from a brand perspective. That's number one. Number two is acquisitions of new customers is the lifeblood of any industry, for sure, right? You need new customers in order to keep your business rolling. And the number three is keeping those customers on a retention basis, because that's where the money is. All your profit is in retention.
So retention, 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 follow up gets you to retention.
Yes. And loyalty, creating loyalty is more than just a punch card. Again, I'm loyal to Apple, right? A $2 trillion company, because I can call someone, get them on the phone, and they can walk me through my problem or the issue that I'm having with my computer, whatever it is. And it's seamless. It's flawless. Like they really care. And again, for a $2 trillion company or whatever it is, it's quite impressive.
Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing those three pillars. We will build on those as we go along here. Why else should somebody buy from the Peak Group?
Well, I mean, no one really buys from me. I work with them to help them reach their goals, whether it's gaming. So we did a feasibility study for Dover Downs in Delaware. This is in 2000 and I want to say 14, before they went live. And we were able to show that they would not be profitable under the current tax regime. So we saved them a ton of money and headache from launching until they were able to fully go after the lawmakers and say, you know, the tax rate is too high. We can't be profitable at this rate. So it took, I don't know, I want to say 8 months, maybe 10 months or more, or probably a year before they finally got in front of the people who were able to lower the rate. So it actually put myself out of business from doing business with them, because they didn't need me anymore until they got their stuff all sorted out. But, you know, Ed at the time, Ed Suter was just a great guy. I love the guy. But Bally since bought the company, so it's a little bit different now.
Well, that was a totally worthwhile event then for them.
Yes, for sure.
Across the board, who's your ideal client?
That's a good question. I put them into two categories. Obviously, startups, people who are looking to get into the space. I love entrepreneurship. So I'm working with a company called Parlay Play, which is a startup. I helped them raise $1 million in their second round. They did a family and friends round. They did the kind of a seed round, and just a bunch of good, smart guys, right, that understand the space. They do it's like parlay gaming. It's like fantasy, daily fantasy betting. It's either that or the big guys who get the big picture. So the Caesars of the world and the Bally's of the world, who understand the space but are looking to diversify into other markets that they're not already in. So those are my two ideal clients.
Sounds like the fantasy football and baseball and basketball, all that seems to be where the most growth is. Yeah.
For sure. Well, again, as it proliferates throughout the United States, it's getting bigger and bigger. That said, Dr. Bill, I spoke to a couple of people who are not even in the gaming space that they wanted consultation from me for, because what I've learned in the space translates into anything. It doesn't have to be gaming. So I'm in the process now of launching a new kind of, I don't want to say one size fits all, but it's called Pivotal Zen, and the site's not done yet, but when it's done, it'll be released. And I'm going to be working with people who are not necessarily looking for gaming, but they're looking for the three pillars, again, which is brand, acquisition, retention. And that's the lifeblood of any industry, any business.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. You diversify, increase your markets. How do you find your clients?
I don't want to sound like a pompous idiot, but I really don't. They find me. So my LinkedIn profile kind of says it all, and people just reach out to me. I probably get, I don't know, 6 or 7 every single week of people that are reaching out to me. I pass on most of them. Most of them are just, people have these great ideas, or at least in their mind, and then I'll give them a free 15-minute consultation, which I'll give to anyone, and explain it to them in terms that they'll understand as to why it won't work. I would rather save somebody the time, the aggravation, and I don't want to be the buzzkill, believe me, but I would rather stop someone from making a mistake and pivot and reassess what they're doing than, just make a consultation dollar. That's not what I'm in it for.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saving people from losing their life savings sometimes by doing the right thing.
Well, even, I wouldn't say life savings, but yeah, I mean, just from making mistakes, to think about it from a different perspective. And then if they decide later on that they want to engage with me, that's fine. But I don't pressure anyone because, again, I have enough to do to keep me busy.
Sounds like the ideal situation. Very good.
Yeah.
How have you pinpointed what you actually offer people now? What's your product line?
Again, it's we don't have any products with Peak Gaming Group itself. So what we do is we use a agnostic approach to technology. So I will work with whichever technology best suits the needs of the particular client. So case in point, if someone needs a referral program, right, and it's just a simple referral link that they need, you don't need to get into big in-depth affiliate platforms. You could do something simple, right? So it's maybe $49 a month. Then there's companies that need a lot more integration and attribution to the links that come into them. For that, again, we don't provide the service. We just direct them where to go, and then we help them manage the process. And that could be $2,000 or $5,000 a month, depending on the service that's out there.
Gotcha. And you just bill out your services as a consultant.
Yeah, and what we started to do is working on a pay-per-performance model where we take just a much smaller retainer on a monthly basis and have a percentage of the upside that we can contribute based on our technology. I mean, our understanding of the technology and how to implement it. So that's what floats my boat, right? So it makes it easier on the cost for a startup or even a big company, but it gives us a bigger upside based on the skills that we know we were able to generate those types of returns.
So that gives you a lot more skin in the game to enjoy the upside.
Absolutely.
I like it. That's the way it ought to be for a lot of businesses. Pay me if it works.
Yeah.
Not so much if it doesn't.
Correct.
Any particular platform you recommend? You said you're agnostic.
Yeah. So there's Intelletix is a company out in California that these guys, this guy Alan's a super smart guy. He understands the affiliate space. So in that respect, yeah, that would be an affiliate platform that I would highly recommend. From a loyalty side, there's a couple of them that are out there. The first one that comes to mind would be Stuzo. Is a company that I've worked with that has a nice platform in the back end. But, again, it all depends on what the client needs. So it's hard to really pin it down. But if you're in the gaming space, Income Access is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. They might not have the best platform, but, everyone uses them.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, as far as 5-star client experience, what do you do that really sets yourself apart?
I think as we touched on, is my success and revenue is generated based on your success. So it's almost like having a partner without equity. Although that being said, I've had some people approach me with some equity deals, and it's a little dodgy, for a startup to get equity in a startup. But if they have, good upside, good prospects, it's something I'll definitely consider.
I know what you're talking about. Equity doesn't often go places in startups.
Yeah.
You got to be careful about those. How do you convert clients into brand ambassadors?
Again, through the service that I provide, which is just either saving them money from not making mistakes or generating sizable returns on the suggestions and advice that I provide. I'm sort of considering myself as like a fractional CMO in the sense that I help them at a holistic level from a marketing standpoint, digitally, predominantly digitally, but we do some offline stuff. In fact, I'm heading up to Charleston on Sunday to meet with a franchise company that is they have an entertainment business. It's kind of like a Dave & Buster's, but it's in a different industry. It's interesting. So I'm going to meet with them and kind of show them what I think the big picture might look like. And if they decide to work with me, that's great. But again, from a brand ambassador perspective, how do people refer me? That's how I got my very first gig, was a referral from the poker room manager at Cryptologic. introduced me to a guy in Colorado who invented a machine that scrambles, shuffles, and deals real decks of cards. I went out there, met with them, and got a consulting gig, and I actually became an interim CEO while we did a pivot. So I guess referrals is how people find me.
Well, I think a brand ambassador fills your bucket. Your funnel is always full when you have people recommending you. So are they afraid maybe that you'll be creating competition for them at all?
No, generally speaking, the people who are giving me recommendations or referrals are not even in the consulting business. They're just either operators or software providers.
That's good. It's good to have a broad base then.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're doing everything just right. You're dominating the industry from just a small office in West Palm, Florida.
Yep.
Pretty ideal, I'd say. There's a dentist on every corner, so it's hard to dominate that industry.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of people are not dentists, want to be consultants to dentists, so that kind of throws another wrench into the works. Tell me about yourself. What are you grateful for today?
Today and every day, waking up on the right side of the grass. It's better than the alternative. And again, probably not a format for this conversation, but I had an experience in 2006, which I flatlined twice. It's a long story. I'm not even going to get into it, but I'm thankful every single day for life.
Well, thanks for letting us know. We've had a couple of our interviewees on Influencers podcast that had near-death experiences and talked about it a little bit. So I guess you're alluding to something that was like you saw the white light.
I did. And, I'm not a religious guy. I was brought up Catholic. I still am. I mean, I believe in God. But, I don't practice since my old days of catechism when I was a kid. But I do understand a higher power. I meditate every day, twice a day, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night through TM, Transcendental Meditation, that I learned maybe 10 years ago. And like I said, that's what I live by because I know what the alternative is.
Well, that's good to know. You did mention health and wellness and taking care of yourself was important to you. Share a little bit about that and what you do every day.
Yeah. So I lift weights every day. I go to the gym. I don't necessarily do aerobics, but, I'm active constantly doing either, playing tennis, which is now turned into pickleball. Everybody's doing pickleball.
Yeah.
But my wife and I go for a walk around the neighborhood every night. It's probably about a mile, but it's more than that. I think it's eating properly. I'm conscious of what I eat, I try to keep in shape. And even when we go away on vacation, I'm always looking for the gym just to keep my heart pumping and, keep my body toned. I'm a grandparent now. I'm going to be my daughter's having another baby, another girl in February. So it's,
you got to be around for the grandkids.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've got a 4, 5-year-old, 8-year-old grandkid and retired from dentistry. So I had to figure out what was I going to do when I grew up, So
yeah, I still don't know, but I'm working on it every day.
Yeah, I started walking in the park with a buddy. We have an accountability agreement where I'll make him show up. If he don't want to show up, I'm going to make him show up, and vice versa.
Right.
So we keep after each other to get up every day and do something. Walk around for 3 or 4 miles. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, I got the stand-up desk too. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm standing, right? You can see me moving around, but I have a desk. I can move it down, lower it, but I'm usually standing most of the days.
Nice. That's a good point of view.
Yeah.
Those stand-up desks really are something. My dental office, I worked 47 years in it. And toward the end, I sold it to somebody else and worked for them. And they started changing things immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one of the things they did, they brought in stand-up desks for all the front desk folk. And it's like, man, those things look terrible. But I think they feel better being able to sit down, stand up, and move around instead of sitting still for 6, 7, 8 hours a day.
Yeah. My daughter says that sitting is the new smoking.
Oh, God. The couch potato has turned into the computer potato.
Yeah.
That's good. So I'm glad that you're doing much better with your health and fitness, because we really need to promote that. As far as what I'm trying to do, I always tell people, you got to live a balanced life. You got to,
Absolutely.
as you said, live holistically. What else do you do besides exercise?
Again, as I mentioned, I meditate twice a day, and then just other than exercise, just eating relatively healthy. When I say relatively, I mean, I'm not. A friend of mine that lives out in California says if he comes in a bag or a box, he doesn't eat it. I'm not that fanatical, but my wife is a phenomenal cook, and she cooks 2 or 3, 4 nights a week. We probably go out 2 or 3, 4 nights a week, and then I actually have a meal service right around the corner from me called Ideal Nutrition. And they give you prepackaged meals that are delicious. And it's $7.70. They'll deliver them, but I go after the gym every day and they pick them out. And, it's good quality food.
$7.70 is like amazing.
Yeah, super cheap. But the portion size is normal, meaning I think you go out to a restaurant and you get a big, huge bowl of pasta. Americans are used to overfeeding themselves. So a lot of times we'll go out and won't eat the whole thing or bring it back for a snack the next day, or we'll split something if we know it's going to be a huge thing.
I agree. We have a favorite Italian restaurant down here called Ippolito's, and I like the Gorgonzola chicken. And that cheese sauce.
Where are you in
Swanee?
Is that near Macon?
It's in Atlanta.
Oh, it's in Atlanta itself.
Yeah, it's a suburb. Yeah.
Ippolito's.
Well, the Gorgonzola chicken is so good. If I order it, it's good for 3 meals. That's how much they give you.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, I'm getting down to $7 a meal when I do that, divided into 3 pieces.
There you go.
Hey, thinking back, if you look at yourself when you were a young guy, 20 years old, what would you give your advice to yourself?
That's a good question. What would I give as advice to myself? I would say God gave you 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Use them in that ratio. Listen and watch more than you speak, and you'll learn infinite wisdom.
That's good advice. Keep the trap shut when it's not necessary, and listen a lot more. I could agree with that. Good advice. Do you have a mentor, somebody you follow right now?
Realistically, I think it's going to be Warren Buffett. His philosophy of buy and hold great companies, is just the easiest thing to do. I mean, it's interesting. 46% of his portfolio is in Apple right now, which you talk about diversification, but he knows a good company when he sees one. And that's why he recognizes a company like that is going to be around for forever.
Solid. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about impact? Why do you want to be impactful in the world?
I think it's just purpose. My purpose in life at this point, when I was in my 20s, it was, grinding the midnight oil until all hours to build up my business. And in the 30s, I converted that into a sustainable model where I was able to take myself out of the day-to-day. And then into my 40s, when I sold it, I was able to then remove myself and quasi-retire, which, again, it's only so many days you could sit on the beach by yourself. And then like I said, when I backed into consulting, it was to help people with the knowledge that I've already learned. You think about all these old, ancient, you go back to the Chinese and even the old, old school stuff, and it's always learning from the elders, right? And it makes sense. So it's my time now to be as impactful as I can to those up and comers.
Listen to the white-haired people, right?
Yeah.
I tell you what, that's kind of the same path I've taken. I taught for 30 years as a dentist to other dentists, taught them how to be better dentists, and wrote books and taught masterminds, did all the things. And then when I retired from dentistry, I said, what can I do now that really would be fulfilling? And so that's what I'm doing now, is completely in the IT space, doing something totally different, interviewing people from all walks of life, because I just got kind of tired of talking only to one group of people who only talked about one thing,
Yeah.
teeth and how to do teeth. That's a great topic, but it's not going to get you anywhere in a social mix cocktail hour. People just don't want to talk to the dentist much.
No.
They always
Especially
have
when
their
your mouth is
story.
wide open. You're like,
Yeah. Or even out socially, if you're out in the community and you say you're a dentist, you know what people do?
Oh, geez.
It's like they don't have any conversations that are interesting to dentists hardly. So I kind of enjoy doing what I'm doing now, just
Good.
talking to people at random. And we have a good purpose behind it. What do you want to be remembered for when it's all said and done? About this is not the end of your life, but when you get to that point, what would be your legacy?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. What am I going to be remembered for? I guess for, sounds tacky, but just being helpful, being kind, thoughtful, and helpful. I like to help people, not necessarily. You know what I mean? I heard a long time ago, there's no such thing as a selfless act. And I believe this to be true. I help people because it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not in an egotistical standpoint that says, oh, they took my idea and they ran with it and they did well, but just that it was the right thing to do. And, hopefully they gained some knowledge out of it and they could leverage it. So
I feel similar. Yeah. I mean, to be able to help somebody succeed does make me as a consultant feel good. It makes you as a consultant feel like your purpose is served.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can we support you? And be sure and give us the link to reach you.
The easiest thing to do is just look me up on LinkedIn. If you type in the name Rob Gallo on Google, you're going to come up with the guy who discovered the AIDS virus. He's got a lot more traction in social media than I do. But I have 13,000 or so followers on LinkedIn, and I contribute pretty regularly there. I became a co-founder of a company called Digital Hunter, digitalhunter.net, where we evaluate different software, software or existing company software, as well as, put out a newsletter. But again, the best way to see me and all the stuff that I do would be through LinkedIn. So. Okay,
good. Yeah, I looked you up on LinkedIn myself, Rob, and I found a whole lot of Rob Gallos, of course. But I did know you were with Pete Gaming Group.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one in West Palm, though. I mean, there's Rob Gallos all over the place. Yeah. Funny enough, I had a guy I have robgallo at gmail.com. robgallo@gmail.com is my regular personal email. And I had a guy from Canada, another Rob Gallo, reached out to me and he wanted to buy it from me. This is 10 years ago. I said,
no, thanks.
No, I couldn't get robgallo.com, though, because the Ernest and Julio family bought it years and years ago.
Wow, they got Rob?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I was all set to buy a case of wine from you. Gosh. What would you say about your experience on the Influencer podcast today?
I think it was great. I appreciate the time, Dr. Bill, and I look forward to catching more of your podcast, your Influencers podcast with some other guests. I think it's entertaining, enlightening, and I definitely appreciate it. I like, it's a neat setup that you have where I can visually see the question instead of, repeating. How was that question? That's a neat setup. I like it.
Yeah. My short-term memory allows me to do that better if I see it too.
Yeah.
I had and this is like 120 different interviews that I've done. And the last one I did was a digital nomad who travels around the world, just traveling wherever she wants to go, doing whatever she wants to do, and takes pictures and videos and sends them to companies they pay her. What a life.
That's pretty
cool.
I
meet some wild, crazy people that are having a good time. So why not share those good news things, and your interviews really opened up a window of entertainment to me that I didn't know existed. What people do, what they can learn is good, So I appreciate what you've shared.
My pleasure, Dr. Bill.
I want to give you the final word before we close the show to the audience. So have at it. I'll come back in a minute when you're done.
So what I would say, really, most importantly, is keep your health in order. It's the only thing you can't get back. You can lose all your money, go bankrupt, and come back from it, as many successful people have. But one thing you can't come back from is obviously poor health. I mean, you can, but keep yourself living healthy and clean. It'll pay off in dividends in the long run.
So there you heard it from Rob Gallo, a successful entrepreneur who made it and went on to pretty much a second career in the same industry. Take care of yourself, because that's really the only thing you've got. Good to see you guys. And I'm going to share with you before we go a little bit about my URL here, so you could reach me if you're in the audience and want to find out what we're doing. You can capture your freedom by going to this QR code, which is my digital business card, which goes to the OVU card. And I like to tell people what it's going to be about. It's going to be about the Influencer Podcast, of course. You can reach me and book your time to do an interview with me through this drbillwilliams.tv. And you'll also see on that all about my digital offerings. I've got lots of AI, artificial intelligence infused software. OConnect is our digital platform for video conferencing. So we've got a lot of things that we want to make available. And one of the things that I think would be kind of fun for people to see is we're partners with Fast Car Majlis in Dubai. And we have a worldwide connection with them. Wherever they go on parade, they are promoting what we're doing. So yeah, take a look at the URLs if you're interested. And I think it's kind of like a fun thing to do, seeing what's going on in that world. Rob, thank you for being with us today. And you guys in the audience, stay tuned. We'll have some more Influencer podcasts coming up for you next week.
Thanks, Dr. Bill.